Hello, everybody, and welcome to All Things Considered Franchising Podcast. I am your host, Scotty Milas, and I've been around the franchising space, seems like a lifetime, so welcome to the show. Just a little FYI, I help people explore franchise ownership and see if it's the right path for them, and more importantly, provide an educational journey to see how a brand that can fit your goals and lifestyle. I also educate my clients on how to validate and make a logical business decision as well as an informed decision. On this show, you'll hear directly from franchise owners as well as franchisors leading exciting brands and people within and in the industry of franchising. You can always connect with me at scotty@theperfectfranchise.com. That is my email address. Visit the websites at theperfectfranchise.com or scottmilasfranchisecoach.com. You can also text and call me at 413-935-5111. Now let's get into today's exciting episode. Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of All Things Considered Franchising. I am your host, Scotty Milas, founder of All Things Considered Franchising. You can find all of our podcasts on your favorite podcast channels and, of course, allthingsconsideredfranchising.com. I'm also the founder of scottmilasfranchisecoach.com and part of The Perfect Franchise. Been a consultant offering franchise consulting education services for many, many years. I have a very, very interesting guest today, and we have brands that come on. They kind of fit in mainstream. This brand, I think, fits off of Main Street. It's it relates to senior health, fitness, and it's just I think a fascinating a brand. And we have Cory Czepa, who is the founder president of Live to Be Healthy. Welcome, Cory.
Thank you, Scotty. It's great to be here.
Cory, you have an interesting background because your brand the brand's origin started from your passion and eventually your wife's passion for health and fitness. Mm-hmm. And it graduated into working with seniors. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people get into senior care or senior related businesses because of family situation, parents, grandparents. Talk a little bit about your background. I know you have a passion for fitness. Your wife does, Sarah, as well. Tell us a little bit how your passion for fitness became something for seniors, and we'll go into the model in a little bit, kind of describe what the model does.
Sure. Yeah, no, I've been a personal trainer since 1999, so I'm kind of dating myself a little bit here. But when I went to college and when I was sitting there trying to figure out what I wanted to do the rest of my life, I realized that I really liked helping people physically, so I became a personal trainer. And, I've worked in all different realms, extremely large health clubs, national health clubs, small health clubs, personal training studios, did in-home personal training, bought a small health club, which we still own it today. My wife runs it. And one common denominator that I noticed inside of, everything that I did with training and working in health clubs is that there weren't a lot of seniors taking advantage of, utilizing a certified personal trainer. And so that's really how it started, where I just realized that that's a population of people that seem to be forgotten about when it comes to having proven exercise programs.
And you're absolutely right. There is a challenge for seniors to stay healthy, active. I mean, look, I'm dealing with my father. He's going to be 91. Trying to get him off the couch to stay mobile. Mm-hmm. It is always a challenge. But Live to Be Healthy is an organization, a franchise that actually goes to where seniors are versus trying to get seniors to get to you, brick and mortar. Explain that, and how did that start? I mean, because that solves a lot of issues, and it also kind of helps with the excuses of I have nowhere, I can't get to, I can't get here, I can't get there. and really kind of opens the door for you to go there and really, offer the services.
Yeah, I mean, you just said it right there. It takes away the excuses, the roadblocks. And I mean, it really hit me when we bought that health club, and I noticed after owning it for a while that if seniors came in, they would gravitate to something that was easy, which would be like a recumbent bike or a treadmill, something like that. And so, um, I going back to when we used to go into do in-home personal training, we come to them again. We take the excuses out. Especially here in Minnesota, it snows every once in a while in wintertime. And so people don't want to go outside. And so we just thought we'd make it easy for them, primarily inside of senior living communities, because we could capture a bigger crowd all at one time instead of going individually to each person's house.
We're talking to Cory Czepa, who is the founder of Live to Be Healthy, a senior health and fitness franchise that offers, fitness services to, as you just mentioned, senior centers for seniors. You mentioned being in business or had a passion for health and fitness, was a personal trainer, bought a gym with your wife. Talk to the audience about how you started this transition into senior fitness. I mean, you didn't wake up one morning and say, "Hey, let's service seniors." I mean, there had to be an audience. There had to be some people coming in. I'm just kind of, and if I'm wrong, correct me, but I'm kind of reading between the lines. It's, you didn't, talk about that, because to me, it's probably got to be a fascinating story.
Well, it's funny that you said that I didn't wake up one morning, just thinking of this. Well, it was actually one night I was going to bed, and I got thinking about how I could help seniors. And as I was laying there, it kind of struck me with what I was mentioning earlier. Let's just go to where they live. I was pretty excited that night, laying in bed. I probably had my, the business plan all figured out. I don't know if I slept a wink, and the next morning I was pretty excited about it. But just seeing the people that were not utilizing either a health club or personal trainer, and again, that common denominator were seniors. And so that night I thought of the idea, and it still took about 2 years, Scotty, to really have it finalized, because there's a lot of moving parts. It's not just, let's just go into a senior living community and teach exercise classes, because me as a personal trainer, I'd like to actually know that what I'm doing is working. And so created some assessments for the seniors.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and then those would be, balance, upper body strength, lower body strength, and flexibility. And then what I wanted to be able to do is work with them, and then come back and do the same assessments and see what the change was. Because for me as a personal trainer, it helps doing things like that, because it really guides me on what I should or should not be working on with seniors. If they're really good at, upper body strength or lower body strength, I'm going to concentrate on other things that they're not so good at.
Interesting.
So,
Interesting.
but just keep in mind, this was just supposed to be for me to do. I didn't think that night in bed, I'm going to start a franchise.
Well, that's a great lead in, and thanks for bringing that up, because that was going to be my next question. You've owned the business. You're now building the business. You've come up with kind of the plan. I like to refer to it sometimes as the menu. You've come up with the menu. A lot of people think it's easy to go out and franchise your business, become a franchise.
They've never done it before.
Right. It's interesting. So talk about well, let me ask you this. What did you know about franchising when the idea or somebody presented the idea of, hey, let's franchise this? Did you know anything about franchising? I mean, outside of the Subways, the McDonald's, the Taco Bells, the name, what everybody relates franchising to, but did you know anything about franchising?
Not one bit. And I learned along the way.
What were, when you learned along the way, I mean, obviously there had to be some great achievements early, and there had to be some, wow, I can't believe we did that. Can you share any of the moments, and then, talk about, you formed a relationship with a franchise sales organization to kind of connect the dots to really start focusing on growth and to really, provide the guidance and the oversight to your franchisees. But what were some of the things that really got you by surprise or caught you by surprise in franchising as you were growing Live to Be Healthy?
Well, like I said, it was just going to be for myself. And then after a couple of years, so I started this in 2008, and it kept growing and growing to where I couldn't keep training myself. I had to start hiring personal trainers to do a lot of the classes for me. And it really got to a crossroads. And at the end of 2009, and so my wife and I sat down and talked, what direction should we take this? Because one key thing that I should probably mention, in the very first location that we were at, after we did some of the assessments the second time, and I had these great results, I sat down with the owners of the community and delivered the results. And keep in mind, Scotty, the average age in the class was 93 years old. And
Wow.
some of them, using walkers, and some of them in wheelchairs, and some of them that were fully ambulatory. But the balance increase was 293%. That is phenomenal. I mean, it's like the baseball talk. That was a grand slam. And so anyway, before I left that building, though, the owner said, Cory, please don't be selfish with this program. Please let other seniors take advantage of it. And so the reason why I want to tell you that story is that I always come back to that phrase. And so in 2009, when my wife and I sat down, I was thinking about what they said, and it's like, you know what, let's not be selfish, and let's let other seniors take advantage of it nationwide instead of just in our little, region where we lived. And so we franchised in 2010, and I will say right away there was some buzz going about with Live to Be Healthy, and we got a decent amount of franchise owners coming on board. I became a franchise owner of my own system in 2015.
Okay.
For a couple of reasons. I wanted to be able to, test ideas out in my area, and also be able to prove that the process that we were teaching really worked. And then in 2020, we were ready to start franchising again, because we took off 5 years of franchising. Well, then COVID hit, and so we transitioned to doing classes virtually, and then when we were able to get the classes back in, we were ready to grow. And then we decided to, instead of trying to reinvent the wheel of franchise development, we decided to work with a company that really knew it, and that's we just ultimately decided to work with Brand One. And I will say, since working with Brand One, and it's a phenomenal company, they really care about not just the franchisor, they care about their candidates, which become the franchisees. It's been crazy. It's been a
great organization. You and I were chatting before this started, and a lot of respect for Dave and Michael and the team over there. And you're in good hands. But it's interesting. You started the franchise, paused, and there are a lot of reasons that brands pause that they're growing too fast, not able to support their franchisees. Technology changes, things get caught up. What did you learn in between that time you paused and then started again to franchise? Because I imagine that you had a lot of people knocking on your door initially to become a franchisee. You were hiring trainers, and trainers are going, wow, I can own a business that does this. And I would just kind of read between the lines and think that maybe some of those trainers came in as franchisees. But what was the pause and the restart? And then maybe kind of give us an overview of what the model is today. If somebody was saying and listening to this, wow, this sounds really interesting. Fitness, health and fitness for seniors, no brick and mortar.
Correct.
What are you looking for in a franchisee?
Sure. Well, I will say the reason why, you said, pausing with franchising, You know, we had some really good franchise owners, but I think they, in their head, they were limited with the growth that they could do. And so, remember the 4 minute mile? Nobody could ever reach it. And all of a sudden somebody
Right.
does. Now everybody's doing a 4 minute mile. And
Right.
so that's really what happened with us is that when I became a franchise owner of my own system, I was able to grow a very big franchise fast, and it opened up the minds of everybody else that they could do it as well. So we really grew as a company with contracts, with
Hmm.
classes, and that's how they make their money. And so during that time, we learned a lot with the system, the process, how to get classes a little bit quicker. But also since then, there's a lot more technology that's involved
Hmm.
now to get your name out there. So when people are searching and so forth, so we've grown a lot in the last couple of years with that. But it's still, I will say, traditional marketing and picking up the phone and doing drop-ins where you just drop in the location is also very much our bread and butter as well. And so it's just, I will say, Scotty, it's a relationship building
Yep.
business. It's not a selling Kirby vacuums and so you're creating those relationships. I don't know if
Now we're
you
really
remember
dating
those days.
ourselves.
The
Wow,
reason
that's
why I kind of say that our business coach used to do that. So so
what
so
and I just want to say this. I think pausing growth and taking a time out, as they say, um, is the right thing to do in franchising. There are too many brands. I shouldn't say too many, but there are brands that just want to continue selling and offering franchises, and they're not really focused on the growth of the franchisees. And that's when, you know, uh, all the legal mumbo jumbo starts and the arguments start to, and brands and franchisees get themselves in trouble. But uh, as an ideal franchisee, somebody, if I'm talking to somebody, consulting with somebody, um, where do you see your franchisees who are successful? What's the common denominator? What are you seeing? Obviously, probably I have some passion for
Mhm.
health and fitness, but where are the connections? Where are you seeing the success for your franchisees?
well, if they're a business minded person that can follow a process and they're organized, just
Yep.
it's pretty simple. That's the type of person we're looking for. And so you mentioned earlier about personal trainers. Originally, that's what my thought was, thinking that personal trainers would be the ideal franchise owner because they already know the personal training aspect of it. But most personal trainers aren't business minded, and what I mean by that is when they get a contract or a class, what do they want to do? They want to train that class, and if they train that class, it slows them down from doing more meetings and getting more contracts. And so if you're a business minded person, like I said, and that can follow a process, I mean, if you want to reinvent the wheel in franchising, why franchise, right?
Right.
We already have a
Hmm.
proven process. Please follow it. And also, it sounds silly, but if you're organized, you also do a lot better than if you're not, is what we found out.
How many locations, territory?